There is a kind of knowledge that does not come through study, effort, or explanation. It arrives without asking permission, settles without instruction, and cannot be traced back to a teacher. The heart recognizes it before the mind understands it. Ibn Arabi speaks of Khidr as a sign of this hidden transmission knowledge that is placed directly by Allah, not learned through steps or systems. It appears when the heart is prepared to carry it, not when the intellect demands it. In this reflection, we approach that concealed wisdom carefully to understand why some truths are given silently and why they cannot be taken by force, only received. Lesson 1. Some knowledge arrives without a path. Not every form of knowledge comes through movement, effort, or progression. There is a kind of knowing that does not wait for preparation in the way the mind understands preparation. It does not arrive at the end of study, struggle, or long searching. It appears suddenly, already complete, as if it had been waiting for the heart to become quiet enough to notice it. This knowledge does not travel through steps. It does not reveal itself gradually. It does not reward persistence or intelligence. In fact, persistence can sometimes delay it, because this knowledge does not respond to pursuit. It responds to availability. The heart does not reach it by moving forward, but by settling inward. The mind is trained to believe that knowledge must be earned. It expects sequence, cause, and proof. It believes that understanding should come after effort, but there is a deeper form of knowledge that bypasses all of this. It does not arrive because the mind has worked hard. It arrives because the heart has stopped interfering. This is why some people encounter moments of deep clarity without being able to explain how they came. There was no visible journey, no accumulation of insight, no gradual build-up. One moment life felt ordinary, and the next moment something fundamental had shifted. The person did not learn something new. They recognized something that had always been present, but previously inaccessible. This kind of knowledge does not answer questions. It rearranges perception. After it arrives, the same world is seen differently. The same events carry different weight. The same choices feel guided without explanation. Nothing outward may change, yet everything inward feels aligned in a way that cannot be traced back to logic. Ibn Arabi describes this knowledge as something placed, not acquired. It is not transferred from one mind to another. It is not stored in language or method. It is given directly to the heart when the heart is capable of receiving without claiming ownership. This is why stillness matters more than effort in this context. Stillness is not inactivity. It is the absence of inner noise. When the heart is busy proving itself, seeking validation, or demanding clarity, it is not empty enough to receive. But when the heart releases its need to arrive somewhere, knowledge finds it without effort. Khidr represents this reality. His knowledge does not come from instruction or lineage. It does not follow accepted rules of learning. It operates outside explanation. His actions appear confusing to the observer because the observer expects knowledge to justify itself. But hidden knowledge does not exist to be justified. It exists to protect outcomes that cannot yet be seen. This teaches something subtle but important. Readiness is not measured by action, it is measured by surrender. A heart may be active for years and still be unready. Another heart may be quiet, unnoticed, and prepared without knowing it. Readiness is not visible. It cannot be measured from the outside. When this knowledge arrives, it does not announce itself. There is no emotional surge, no excitement, no sense of achievement. In fact, it often arrives with calm. The heart does not feel elevated. It feels aligned. There is no urge to speak about it or explain it. The knowledge feels complete without being shared. This is why those who carry such knowledge often remain silent about it, not out of secrecy, but because language cannot hold it without distorting it. Explanation reduces it. Description weakens it. The knowledge functions best when it remains inward, shaping perception rather than being displayed. Another sign of this knowledge is that it does not increase certainty in the usual sense. It does not provide answers to every question. Instead, it removes the urgency of questioning. The heart no longer needs to know why something is happening in order to move correctly within it. Trust replaces explanation. This kind of knowing also brings responsibility. Because it does not come with rules or instructions, the heart must remain attentive. There is no manual to follow. Guidance unfolds moment by moment, requiring humility rather than confidence. The heart must stay receptive, not assertive. Importantly, this knowledge cannot be forced. Attempting to imitate it, claim it, or search for it deliberately closes the door to it. It appears only when the heart has stopped positioning itself as the seeker. In that sense, it is not found. It is encountered. Many people misunderstand this and assume that passivity will bring insight. But stillness is not passivity. It is awareness without demand. The heart remains present, observant, and honest, without trying to extract meaning. This posture creates space, and in space, hidden knowledge settles naturally. This lesson reshapes how we understand guidance. Guidance is not always a response to effort. Sometimes it is a response to restraint. Not moving forward, not acting prematurely, not demanding clarity. These can prepare the heart more than action ever could. Khidr's knowledge shows that Allah does not always teach through instruction. Sometimes He teaches through placement. The heart becomes the site of knowing, not the mind. And once placed, this knowledge does not need reinforcement. It operates quietly, continuously, without interruption. This is why such knowledge endures. It does not depend on memory or repetition. It becomes part of how the heart moves through the world. It guides without speaking. It corrects without argument. It remains steady even when circumstances shift. Understanding this lesson changes how the heart relates to learning. It stops rushing toward answers. It becomes patient with not knowing. It trusts that when something is meant to be known, it will arrive whole, without needing to be chased. Some knowledge arrives without a path, because the path itself would interfere with what needs to be received. And when the heart understands this, it stops walking unnecessarily and learns how to remain. Lesson 2: hidden knowledge is placed, not acquired. There is a fundamental difference between knowledge that is gathered and knowledge that is given. Gathered knowledge increases what a person possesses. Given knowledge alters what a person becomes. One adds weight to the mind, the other shifts the center of the heart. Acquired knowledge follows effort. It requires seeking, comparison, correction, and reinforcement. It accumulates slowly and depends on memory, language, and structure. A person can point to where it came from, who taught it, and how it developed. It lives in the realm of information. Hidden knowledge does not follow this pattern. It cannot be traced back to a source in the usual way. It does not arrive as content. It arrives as orientation. The heart does not learn something new. It begins to face a different direction. This is why the knowledge associated with Khidr cannot be taught. Teaching assumes movement from one person to another. It assumes explanation, sequence, and comprehension. But this knowledge does not move. It settles. It is placed directly into the heart when the heart has become suitable ground. When this knowledge is placed, it does not announce itself. There is no sense of achievement, no feeling of advancement. Often, the person carrying it may not even recognize it as knowledge at first. They simply notice that perception has shifted. Certain things no longer appear the same. Certain choices feel clear without deliberation. Certain paths lose their appeal without argument. This change does not come from analysis. It comes from alignment. The heart is no longer positioned where it once stood. It now faces truth from a different angle. Because of this, the same reality produces different responses. This is why given knowledge changes what you are. It does not decorate the intellect, it rearranges the inner posture of the heart. After it arrives, the person does not think differently, they see differently. And because seeing has changed, action changes naturally without instruction. Acquired knowledge often demands application. It must be remembered, recalled, and practiced. Hidden knowledge does not demand effort to be applied. It expresses itself automatically. It shapes response before the mind intervenes. This is why those who carry it often struggle to explain their decisions. They are not acting from reasoning, they are moving from orientation. This also explains why such knowledge cannot be measured. It cannot be tested, graded, or demonstrated. Its effect is internal and continuous. It does not perform for others. It functions quietly. Khidr's knowledge illustrates this distinction clearly. His actions were not based on learned law or visible reasoning. They emerged from an inward placement of understanding that accounted for outcomes not yet visible. This knowledge did not oppose outward knowledge. It operated on a different plane. One of the signs that knowledge has been placed rather than acquired is that the heart does not feel ownership over it. There is no pride attached to it, no sense of possession. The heart does not say, "I know." It simply moves. This lack of ownership keeps the heart humble. It recognizes that what has been placed can also be withheld. This awareness creates attentiveness rather than confidence. The heart remains careful, not because it doubts itself, but because it knows it did not create what guides it. Another sign of placed knowledge is restraint. The heart does not rush to share it. It does not seek validation for it. Often, speaking about it feels unnecessary or even disruptive. The knowledge works best when it remains unexposed. This is because exposure invites interpretation, and interpretation invites distortion. The moment placed knowledge is pulled into explanation, it risks being reduced to opinion. The heart senses this instinctively and protects it through silence. Placed knowledge also changes how the heart relates to uncertainty. It does not eliminate uncertainty, but it changes the heart's response to it. Uncertainty no longer feels threatening. The heart trusts that clarity will arrive when needed, not when demanded. This trust is not passive. It is alert without being anxious. The heart remains engaged with reality, but does not try to dominate it. It listens more than it asserts. Another important distinction is that acquired knowledge can be forgotten, but placed knowledge cannot be removed without altering the heart itself. It becomes part of how the heart perceives. Even if the person cannot articulate it, it continues to guide. This is why some people appear wise without being able to explain why. Their wisdom does not come from stored information, it comes from alignment. Their responses are accurate, not impressive. Their presence feels steady, not instructive. Placed knowledge also does not compete. It does not compare itself with other forms of knowing. It does not seek superiority. It functions independently of recognition. This independence protects it from corruption. Acquired knowledge often seeks expansion. It wants more. Placed knowledge seeks preservation. It wants clarity to remain intact. This is why the heart carrying it becomes selective, not out of judgment, but out of care. This lesson reshapes how the seeker understands learning. It teaches that not all growth comes from accumulation. Some growth comes from subtraction. As the heart releases false orientations, the correct one settles naturally. In this sense, placed knowledge is less about receiving something new and more about removing what was obstructing perception. When obstruction lifts, clarity appears without effort. Khidra's role reminds us that Allah teaches in different ways, sometimes through instruction, sometimes through experience, and sometimes through placement. The heart that understands this stops demanding knowledge in a single form. This lesson invites patience. It teaches the heart to remain open without grasping, to be attentive without controlling, to trust that when the heart is ready, knowledge will arrive without being sought. And when it arrives, it will not feel like learning. It will feel like recognition. Lesson 3: explanation often weakens what is meant to guide. Not all knowledge is meant to be explained. Some forms of guidance lose their strength the moment they are translated into reasons, steps, or arguments. Explanation belongs to the mind, but hidden knowledge addresses something deeper. When explanation takes over too early, it shifts the center of guidance away from the heart and places it into logic, where it no longer functions as intended. The mind seeks sequence. It wants to know why something happened, how it happened, and what should come next. This is useful for learning skills and organizing information. But hidden knowledge does not operate within this structure. It does not reveal itself in order. It does not justify its movement. It simply directs. Khidra's actions illustrate this clearly. What he did appeared troubling, even wrong, when viewed through explanation. Each action contradicted visible logic. If those actions had been explained before their time, they would have been rejected, not because they lacked wisdom, but because wisdom of that kind cannot survive premature exposure to reasoning. This teaches a subtle truth. Some guidance is not meant to convince, it is meant to orient. It does not argue its correctness. It moves the heart into the correct position so that right action becomes natural without explanation. When hidden knowledge is forced into explanation, it changes form. It becomes an idea instead of a direction. Once it becomes an idea, it becomes something to debate, compare, accept, or reject. Its function shifts from guiding the heart to satisfying the intellect. In that shift, its power weakens. This is why explanation can be dangerous when applied at the wrong time. It invites the mind to take control over something that was meant to bypass it. The mind then demands consistency, comfort, and reassurance. Hidden knowledge offers none of these. It offers alignment, not comfort. The heart understands alignment without needing reasons. It senses when something is correct, even if it cannot explain why. This sensing is not emotional impulse. It is a form of inward recognition that comes from depth rather than reaction. When knowledge is meant to guide inwardly, explanation becomes interference. It introduces delay. The heart pauses to evaluate instead of moving. Doubt enters not because the knowledge is unclear, but because the mind has been invited into a space where it cannot lead. This is why Khidra's knowledge required trust rather than understanding. Trust does not mean ignorance. It means recognizing the limits of explanation. It means knowing when clarity will come later and not demanding it now. Hidden knowledge often works across time rather than moments. Its outcomes are not immediately visible. Explanation, on the other hand, demands immediate coherence. It wants to see the whole picture before moving. Hidden knowledge asks the heart to move before the picture is visible. This creates discomfort for the mind. The mind feels unsafe when it cannot predict, but the heart, when aligned, does not need prediction. It needs direction. Once direction is sensed, movement follows. Another reason explanation weakens hidden knowledge is that explanation creates attachment to form. The heart becomes attached to understanding rather than outcome. It wants the explanation to remain correct, but hidden knowledge adapts. It moves differently depending on circumstance. Explanation freezes it into a single interpretation. Guidance that must adapt cannot be fixed into language. Language locks meaning into structure. Hidden knowledge remains fluid. It adjusts without needing to announce its adjustment. Explanation resists this fluidity. This is why those who carry hidden knowledge often remain silent about it. Silence is not secrecy, it is protection. They know that speaking too early will invite misunderstanding. Not because others are incapable, but because the knowledge is not meant for debate. Explanation also invites judgment. Once something is explained, it can be evaluated. People decide whether they agree, approve, or object. Hidden knowledge does not seek approval. It operates regardless of opinion. Explanation exposes it to resistance that it was never meant to face. Another important point is that explanation shifts responsibility. When guidance is explained, the listener feels responsible for understanding it. When guidance is hidden, responsibility remains with the heart to respond correctly without full visibility. This trains sincerity and humility. Hidden knowledge guides by presence rather than instruction. It creates an inner pull rather than an outer rule. The heart feels where to move without being told how. This kind of guidance strengthens reliance rather than control. This does not mean explanation is wrong. It means explanation has a place. Explanation belongs after alignment, not before it. Once the heart has moved correctly and outcomes have unfolded, explanation may arrive as confirmation. But when explanation precedes movement, it often blocks movement entirely. Khidr's role reminds us that Allah guides in layers. Some guidance is given for clarity, some is given for obedience, some is given for protection. Not all guidance is meant to be understood at the same level or at the same time. The heart that learns this stops demanding explanation for everything. It learns to distinguish between what needs understanding and what needs trust. This distinction is a form of maturity. When explanation weakens guidance, restraint becomes wisdom. The heart chooses to remain quiet rather than reduce what it carries. It allows alignment to lead and explanation to follow later, if needed. This lesson reshapes how the heart relates to knowledge. It stops equating truth with explanation. It understands that some truths function only when they are lived, not described. Hidden knowledge guides the heart, not the argument. It moves life into place without convincing anyone along the way. And when the heart accepts this, it becomes capable of receiving guidance that explanation could never deliver. Lesson 4. This knowledge operates beyond moral comfort. One of the most difficult aspects of hidden knowledge is that it does not align itself with what feels morally reassuring. It does not pause to soften its impact on the emotions of the observer. It does not adjust itself to appear gentle, fair, or immediately acceptable. This is not because it lacks mercy, but because its mercy operates on a deeper plane than surface feeling. Human judgment often relies on comfort as a measure of goodness. What feels kind is assumed to be right. What feels harsh is assumed to be wrong. This way of measuring works in ordinary situations, but hidden knowledge does not answer to ordinary measurement. It moves according to outcome rather than reaction. Khidr's actions unsettled those who witnessed them because they violated emotional expectation. They disturbed the sense of moral balance that depends on visible cause and effect. When something appears harmful, the heart naturally resists it. But hidden knowledge is not designed to calm immediate resistance. It is designed to protect what cannot yet be seen. This is why such knowledge often feels disruptive at first. It interrupts assumptions. It dismantles surface conclusions. It creates confusion, not because it lacks wisdom, but because it operates beyond the range of visible justice. It addresses realities that unfold over time, not moments. Moral comfort seeks reassurance. It wants to know that things are fair now. Hidden knowledge seeks preservation. It is willing to disturb the present in order to protect the future. This difference creates tension for the observer, who expects goodness to feel gentle at every stage. This does not mean hidden knowledge ignores compassion. It means compassion is not expressed in the way the observer expects. Compassion at this level is not emotional relief. It is protection from harm that has not yet arrived. It prevents outcomes that would be far more destructive if allowed to unfold. The heart that encounters this kind of knowledge must learn to separate discomfort from wrongness. Something can feel unsettling and still be guided. Something can disturb emotional balance and still serve a deeper order. This distinction is difficult because emotion reacts faster than understanding. Hidden knowledge often intervenes before harm becomes visible. When it does, the intervention can look unnecessary or even cruel. The observer sees only the interruption, not the disaster that was prevented. Because the prevented outcome never occurs, its absence is never credited. This is one reason hidden knowledge remains misunderstood. Its success erases its own evidence. When harm is stopped before it forms, nothing appears to have been saved. The observer judges only what they see, not what was avoided. Moral comfort depends on visible logic. It wants explanations that satisfy emotional balance. Hidden knowledge does not provide this. It asks the heart to accept that not all goodness is immediately recognizable as good. This places a burden on trust. The heart must remain steady without emotional reassurance. It must accept guidance that does not explain itself. This is not blind obedience. It is disciplined restraint from premature judgment. Another reason this knowledge feels unsettling is that it does not center the observer. It does not prioritize how the action is perceived. It prioritizes what must be preserved. The observer's comfort is not the reference point. The outcome is. This challenges the heart's sense of importance. It reveals how much moral certainty depends on being able to see and approve. Hidden knowledge removes that privilege. It asks the heart to step aside and allow a deeper order to operate. At this level, goodness is not measured by kindness alone. It is measured by correctness. Correctness here does not mean rule following. It means alignment with a reality that extends beyond immediate perception. Hidden knowledge also teaches the heart humility. It reveals the limits of surface judgment. The heart realizes that its emotional response is not a reliable guide in every situation. This realization is uncomfortable but necessary. The discomfort itself serves a purpose. It loosens the heart's attachment to certainty. It creates space for trust to develop without explanation. The heart learns to remain open even when it does not understand. This does not eliminate moral sensitivity, it refines it. The heart becomes careful rather than reactive. It pauses before condemning. It recognizes that some actions cannot be evaluated without seeing their full arc. Another subtle aspect of this lesson is that hidden knowledge often looks inconsistent when judged moment by moment. But when viewed across time, a pattern emerges. That pattern reveals coherence, not chaos. But coherence only appears after patience. This patience is not passive. It is attentive waiting. The heart stays present without forcing interpretation. It allows reality to unfold without imposing judgment prematurely. Hidden knowledge does not seek to be liked. It seeks to be accurate. Accuracy at this level does not flatter the observer. It corrects the trajectory of events quietly and decisively. This lesson teaches that mercy is not always soothing. Sometimes mercy disrupts. Sometimes it removes what feels safe. Sometimes it interrupts what appears stable. These interruptions protect the heart from greater harm later. The heart that matures through this understanding becomes less reactive to appearances. It learns to suspend judgment. It learns to trust that what feels uncomfortable now may be preserving something vital later. This does not mean the heart stops discerning. It means discernment deepens. The heart distinguishes between emotional disturbance and true misalignment. This distinction is rare and requires inner steadiness. Hidden knowledge answers to outcome, not reaction. It does not measure success by approval, it measures success by preservation. The heart that understands this stops demanding comfort as proof of goodness. When the heart accepts that not all guidance feels gentle, it becomes capable of carrying deeper trust. It no longer collapses when comfort is removed. It remains aligned even when understanding is delayed. This is one of the heavier lessons of the inner path, but it is also one of the most stabilizing. It frees the heart from equating truth with reassurance. Lesson 5. The heart must be trained to trust without seeing. There is a level of guidance that cannot rely on sight, evidence, or immediate understanding. At this level, the heart is asked to move before proof arrives. This is not because proof does not exist, but because proof belongs to a later moment. Hidden knowledge requires the heart to act from alignment rather than visibility. Most hearts are trained to trust only what they can see unfolding. They wait for signs to appear clearly, for outcomes to justify movement, for explanations to remove uncertainty. This way of trusting is conditional. It depends on reassurance. But the knowledge associated with Khidr demands a different capacity altogether. This knowledge asks whether the heart can remain steady when clarity is delayed. It tests whether trust depends on comfort or on sincerity. The heart is not asked to ignore reason, but to recognize its limits. Some guidance cannot be proven in advance without being compromised. Trust without seeing does not happen naturally. It must be trained. The heart must slowly learn how to remain present without becoming anxious. It must learn how to sense direction without demanding explanation. This training does not occur through instruction, it occurs through experience. The heart first encounters discomfort when sight is removed. It feels exposed. It feels uncertain. The instinct is to pull back, to wait, to hesitate, until something becomes clear. But hidden knowledge does not wait for the heart to feel ready. It waits for the heart to become honest. Honesty at this level means admitting that explanation is not always necessary for obedience. The heart begins to realize that not every correct movement can be justified immediately. Some movements are correct because they are aligned, not because they are understood. Khidr's knowledge reveals this distinction clearly. His guidance was not meant to reassure the observer, it was meant to preserve an unseen order. To follow such guidance requires the heart to accept that it may feel unsettled while still being correct. This is why trust here is not blind. Blind trust abandons awareness. Disciplined trust sharpens it. The heart remains alert, attentive, and humble, even while moving without full visibility. It does not shut down discernment. It deepens it. Disciplined trust recognizes that sight is not the only form of knowing. The heart has its own perception, separate from logic and sequence. This perception does not argue. It recognizes. When the heart senses alignment, it often does so quietly. There is no emotional surge, no excitement, just a calm certainty that something must be done or not done. This certainty does not explain itself. It simply stands. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. The heart may doubt itself. It may wonder whether it is mistaken. This doubt is part of the training. The heart must learn the difference between fear and misalignment. Fear is loud, misalignment is heavy, alignment is steady. As this training continues, the heart becomes less dependent on external confirmation. It stops needing others to agree. It stops needing outcomes to validate choices immediately. It learns to wait without retreating. This does not make the heart rigid. In fact, it becomes more flexible. Because it is not clinging to explanation, it can adjust easily if alignment shifts. Trust without seeing does not mean stubbornness. It means responsiveness without panic. Another important aspect of this training is patience with delayed clarity. The heart learns that understanding often arrives after obedience, not before it. Meaning unfolds with time. Outcomes reveal intention later. This sequence feels backward to the mind, but natural to the heart. The heart also learns restraint. It stops explaining itself prematurely. It stops defending movements that have not yet revealed their purpose. Silence becomes protection rather than weakness. The heart trusts that what is aligned will eventually speak for itself. This kind of trust also reshapes humility. The heart no longer assumes it understands the full picture. It accepts that its role is to respond correctly within its portion of reality, not to comprehend the entire design. Trust without seeing removes the illusion of control. The heart no longer believes it must manage outcomes. It focuses instead on correctness of movement. This focus reduces anxiety. The heart is no longer responsible for results, only for sincerity. Another subtle change occurs here. The heart becomes less reactive to confusion. Confusion no longer signals danger. It signals that understanding is still unfolding. The heart remains present rather than withdrawing. This trust is strengthened each time guidance proves accurate after the fact. But even before such confirmation arrives, the heart becomes more comfortable with uncertainty. It learns that uncertainty does not mean error. Khidr's knowledge trains the heart to accept delayed meaning. It teaches that obedience is sometimes the path to clarity, not its result. This reverses the usual order of learning. As the heart matures in this lesson, it develops quiet courage. Not boldness, not confidence, but steadiness. It can move forward gently without knowing where the step will land. This steadiness protects the heart from paralysis. It no longer waits endlessly for perfect conditions. It recognizes that perfect visibility is not required for correct movement. Trust without seeing also deepens reliance. The heart becomes less focused on its own ability to judge and more focused on remaining receptive. This reliance does not weaken the heart. It stabilizes it. The heart learns that guidance does not always explain itself because explanation is not always necessary. Some truths work only when trusted. This lesson reshapes the heart's relationship with knowledge entirely. Knowledge is no longer something to be possessed. It is something to be followed carefully, quietly, and with humility. When the heart can trust without seeing, it becomes capable of carrying deeper guidance. It no longer collapses when certainty is delayed. It remains aligned even when understanding arrives later. This is disciplined trust. It is not dramatic, it is not emotional, it is steady, practiced, and inward. Lesson 6. Hidden knowledge is given to protect, not impress. Hidden knowledge is not given to decorate a person's image or to elevate their position among others. It is not a badge of distinction, nor a sign meant to be displayed. Its purpose is protection, not recognition. When Allah places this kind of knowledge within a heart, it is because something fragile, dangerous, or easily damaged must be preserved from interference. Much of what Khidr carried was concealed precisely because visibility would have destroyed its effect. Had his knowledge been exposed prematurely, it would have invited resistance, misunderstanding, and obstruction. What needed to be protected would have been disrupted by attention. Silence in this case was not withholding, it was safeguarding. Human nature often equates value with visibility. What is seen is assumed to matter more than what is hidden. But hidden knowledge reverses this assumption. It teaches that some things lose their benefit the moment they are exposed. Not because they are weak, but because they are precise. Precision requires containment. Ibn Arabi speaks of knowledge that operates quietly, without seeking witness. Such knowledge does not need affirmation to function. In fact, affirmation can interfere with it. When attention gathers around something delicate, it disturbs its balance. This is why certain forms of guidance remain concealed. Protection is often misunderstood as passivity, but hidden knowledge protects actively. It intervenes without being noticed. It redirects without announcing itself. It prevents harm without demanding acknowledgement. Its success is measured by what does not happen, not by what is celebrated. This creates a paradox. When hidden knowledge succeeds, nothing appears to have been saved. The disaster never unfolds. The harm never becomes visible. Because there is no visible crisis, there is no visible hero. Protection erases its own evidence. This is why such knowledge cannot seek recognition. Recognition would require visibility. Visibility would interfere with protection. The knowledge would be forced to explain itself, justify itself, or defend itself. In doing so, it would lose its ability to function quietly. Secrecy here is not secrecy of ego, it is secrecy of care. It is the same kind of silence that protects a seed underground. Exposing it too early does not help it grow, it damages it. Hidden knowledge also teaches restraint. The heart that carries it learns when not to speak, not to act publicly, not to reveal what it sees. This restraint is not fear, it is responsibility. The heart understands that revealing everything it knows is not honesty, it is negligence. There are moments when speaking the truth loudly causes more harm than withholding it gently. Hidden knowledge recognizes this. It understands timing. It knows that truth must sometimes wait until it can be received without being destroyed. This challenges the common idea that all truth must be declared. Some truth must be protected until the conditions for its benefit exist. Without those conditions, truth can become a weapon rather than a remedy. Khidr's knowledge illustrates this clearly. His actions were not meant to instruct the observer. They were meant to preserve outcomes that would only make sense later. Had he explained himself at every step, his guidance would have been blocked. This teaches the heart a difficult lesson. Usefulness does not always look virtuous on the surface. Sometimes the most obedient act is restraint. Sometimes the most merciful response is silence. Hidden knowledge also protects the one who carries it. Visibility attracts projection, judgment, and interference. The heart entrusted with delicate guidance is often shielded from attention so that it can function without distortion. This shielding is not rejection. It is insulation. It prevents others' expectations from reshaping the guidance. It allows the heart to remain accurate rather than impressive. Impression seeks reaction. Protection seeks outcome. Impression invites admiration or opposition. Protection avoids both. It works beneath notice. The heart that understands this stops craving visibility. It no longer measures its worth by being seen. It recognizes that effectiveness does not require acknowledgement. This recognition brings humility, not loss. Hidden knowledge also reshapes intention. The heart acts without hoping to be noticed. It does not seek gratitude or validation. Its satisfaction comes from correctness, not recognition. This form of obedience is heavy. It requires the heart to accept that its contribution may never be known, that its role may remain invisible, that its effort may leave no trace. But this invisibility is not loss. It is alignment. The heart learns to work within the unseen rather than against it. It becomes comfortable serving outcomes it will never witness. Silence in this context is not absence of speech. It is alignment with timing. The heart speaks only when speaking protects rather than exposes. It withholds when withholding preserves rather than conceals harm. This restraint deepens trust. The heart trusts that what is hidden is still accounted for, that Allah sees what people do not, that effectiveness does not depend on acknowledgement. Hidden knowledge also teaches patience with misunderstanding. When the heart does not explain itself, it may be judged incorrectly. It may appear inactive, indifferent, or unaware. The heart learns to carry this misunderstanding without correcting it. This endurance refines sincerity. The heart no longer acts to be understood, it acts to be aligned. Not everything that helps should be displayed. Display attracts attention, attention attracts interference, interference disrupts function. Hidden knowledge understands this chain and avoids it. Protection often works best when unnoticed. Guidance often functions best when unspoken. Mercy often operates best when quiet. This lesson teaches the heart to value accuracy over appearance, to choose effectiveness over explanation, to trust that silence can sometimes be obedience, not neglect. When the heart accepts this, it becomes capable of carrying deeper responsibility. It no longer measures its role by how visible it is. It measures it by whether harm was prevented, whether balance was preserved, whether alignment remained intact. Hidden knowledge is given to protect, not impress. And when the heart understands this, it stops asking to be seen and starts allowing guidance to work. Lesson 7. Those who carry it must remain unseen. There is a quiet weight carried by those entrusted with hidden knowledge. It is not the weight of understanding itself, but the weight of remaining unnoticed while carrying it. This final lesson reveals something difficult for the heart to accept. Visibility can interfere with function. When guidance is meant to operate silently, the one through whom it moves must also remain silent in presence, position, and trace. Hidden knowledge does not belong to the world of recognition. Recognition invites interpretation, expectation, and attachment. Once attention gathers around a person, their role begins to shift. People project meaning onto them. They ask for explanation. They expect consistency. They demand clarity. All of this pulls the knowledge out of the unseen and into performance. When that happens, it no longer works as intended. This is why those who carry such knowledge are often kept away from prominence. Not because they are unworthy, but because prominence would burden what they carry. Visibility attracts noise. Noise disrupts precision. Precision is essential for guidance that operates quietly. Ibn Arabi points toward figures who move without leaving footprints. Their absence from history is not loss, it is design. What they serve is not memory, but balance. Their role is not to be remembered, but to intervene where intervention must remain unseen. Khidr embodies this reality. He does not build institutions, he does not gather followers, he does not remain in one place long enough to be defined. His movement leaves no pattern for imitation. This is intentional. Hidden knowledge cannot be systematized without being diminished. Legacy, as the world understands it, depends on continuity and recognition, but hidden knowledge serves moments, not monuments. It appears where needed and withdraws once its function is complete. To leave a trace would invite interference. To gather an audience would invite distortion. This teaches the heart something uncomfortable. Usefulness does not always lead to acknowledgement. Some of the most precise guidance leaves no visible evidence of having occurred. When harm is prevented quietly, nothing appears to have been saved. The carrier of that guidance receives no credit, because credit would imply visibility. The heart that carries hidden knowledge must therefore be trained to accept obscurity without resentment. This is not humility performed for reward. It is humility required for function. The heart learns that being unseen is not a demotion. It is protection for what must remain intact. Another reason carriers remain unseen is that visibility changes intention. Even subtle awareness of being watched can bend sincerity. The heart adjusts itself unconsciously. It corrects tone. It moderates action. Hidden knowledge cannot afford this adjustment. It requires exactness, not presentation. Remaining unseen also protects the carrier from becoming a reference point. When people begin to rely on a person rather than on alignment, the knowledge becomes externalized. Dependency forms. Authority shifts from guidance to personality. This corrupts function. Khidr avoids this by refusing permanence. He does not stay long enough to become central. He does not allow himself to be located, defined, or claimed. His role is movement, not position. This challenges the common belief that impact requires presence. Hidden knowledge teaches that impact can occur through absence. What matters is not who is seen acting, but whether balance is preserved. The heart carrying this knowledge must also learn silence beyond speech, silence of explanation, silence of defense, silence of self-justification. Being misunderstood becomes part of the role. Correcting misunderstanding would require exposure. Exposure would interfere with function. This silence is not weakness, it is restraint. The heart learns to let outcomes speak instead of words. Often, even outcomes remain invisible. The heart must accept that its work may never be recognized, even indirectly. This can feel heavy at first. The desire to be known is deeply human. The heart naturally wants confirmation that it matters. Hidden knowledge asks the heart to surrender this desire. It asks the heart to trust that being seen by Allah is sufficient. This trust reshapes identity. The heart stops defining itself by role, contribution, or influence. It becomes defined by alignment. It knows it is functioning correctly, even when no one notices. Remaining unseen also protects the heart from attachment to its own importance. The heart cannot inflate around its contribution if that contribution leaves no trace. This preserves sincerity over time. Another subtle aspect of this lesson is impermanence. Those who carry hidden knowledge often appear briefly in situations and then disappear. Their involvement is precise and temporary. They are not meant to stay, teach, or oversee. They are meant to correct and withdraw. This impermanence prevents ownership. The heart does not claim responsibility for outcomes beyond its moment of alignment. It intervenes where guided and then releases control. This is why Khidr does not belong to history in the usual sense. He belongs to moments of necessity. His presence is conditional, not continuous. He serves the unseen and therefore remains unseen. The heart that understands this lesson stops striving for placement. It no longer seeks to be positioned, recognized, or remembered. It seeks to be accurate in the moment it is needed. Accuracy becomes more important than acknowledgement. Correctness becomes more valuable than credit. The heart learns to measure itself by inner alignment rather than external response. This lesson also removes fear of disappearance. The heart no longer worries about being forgotten. It understands that forgetting is sometimes mercy. Being overlooked can preserve function. Those who carry hidden knowledge belong to the unseen because what they serve cannot tolerate exposure. They operate beneath surface narratives. Their work stabilizes without announcing itself. This is not a path that can be chosen, it is a role that is assigned. The heart does not volunteer for obscurity. It is placed there because visibility would interfere. When the heart accepts this placement, something settles deeply. The need to be seen dissolves. The need to explain fades. The heart becomes light, even while carrying heavy responsibility. To remain unseen is not to be insignificant. It is to be precisely where function remains intact. Hidden knowledge does not need witnesses. It needs accuracy. And those who carry it learn, slowly and quietly, how to belong to what cannot be seen. What has been shared here was never meant to be gathered as information, but allowed to rest as orientation. Hidden knowledge does not ask to be repeated, remembered, or displayed. It asks to be carried carefully. If this reflection felt heavy, it is because the unseen always carries weight. And if it felt quiet, it is because what truly guides does not compete for attention. Let what belongs to you remain with you, without explanation. Let what must stay hidden do its work, without interference. Not every truth is meant to appear. Some are meant to hold the world in place without ever being named.